Welcome back. Today's story filled with drama and unexpected turns. Hit like, subscribe, and let's jump in.
I am a sad but wiser man now than I was just 9 months ago. Back then, I thought I had it all: a remarkable marriage, a lovely wife, 2 wonderful kids, and a career on the rise. Now, I sit at home and wonder how everything fell apart. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Daniel Robert Lawson, and I'm about to turn 32. I'm 6 feet tall, weigh 183 pounds, and have sandy blonde hair that's thinning just a bit. I have 2 amazing children whom I love unconditionally. Up until 4 months ago, I was a happily married man to my beautiful wife, Sophia Lawson, formerly Brooks. It all began when I was 16. Sophia Blake walked into my high school, Oakwood High, in Crestfield, Nevada, one sunny morning. I was a sophomore, and as we listened to the morning announcements over the PA system, in walked this stunning girl. She was about 5 feet 5 inches, with jet black hair and a figure that turned every head in the room. She had curves in all the right places and a confidence that was hard to ignore. She had just transferred from somewhere in the Midwest, Cleveland, Illinois, or Indiana, but no one really knew for sure. Her accent was a giveaway, though she kept her past vague, simply saying she was from up north. Everyone, including our teacher, Mr. Walters, was captivated by her. But we quickly learned that this angelic new girl was also an ice queen, beautiful yet distant, with a tongue that could cut steel. Her sharp wit and fiery words left many of us in awe, and despite her beauty, she seemed completely untouchable. I got to know Amanda, never Mandy or Amy. She made sure of that, because we rode the same bus to school. Our school was surrounded by 3 new subdivisions, but beyond that, most students lived up to 8 miles away, so we either drove or took the bus. Amanda lived a couple of streets away from me, so we saw each other every day. I was a bit of a loner, the resident geek on the bus. I was smarter than most of my classmates and was already taking junior-level courses in high school. By that point, I had completed Algebra 1 and 2, plain and solid geometry, and was nearly finished with advanced math. I was on track for pre-calculus and then calculus. On top of that, I had taken biology and chemistry, with physics next on my list. I even had my eye on electronics courses. My plan was to graduate early, by January of my senior year, and get a head start in college. Word quickly spread that I was the go-to guy for help with schoolwork. Amanda, like everyone else, started asking me questions, and soon we became study partners. That was the extent of our relationship, just study buddies. I graduated with honors and earned a scholarship, which I used to negotiate a unique arrangement with Mountain View University. I wanted to spend my first year and a half at Alameda Community College to complete my basic courses, then transfer to CSU to focus on my major in architectural engineering and design. They agreed, and I started at CSU after completing my work at ACC. Halfway through my senior year, I crossed paths with Amanda again. She reached out for help with her statistics class, and what started as study sessions soon turned into casual dates. Before long, we were officially a couple. No one could believe how the geek had managed to win over the Ice Queen, but less than 5 months after graduation, we were married. When we began dating, Amanda told me she was a virgin and intended to stay that way until our wedding night. I respected that and was fine with it. We fooled around but didn't fully consummate our relationship until after the wedding, or at least we tried to. On our wedding night, things didn't go as planned. We both had difficulty during our lovemaking, despite our best efforts. I couldn't do it the way we had planned. We both tried to stay calm, and I reassured her that we would figure it out together. The next week, we saw a gynecologist who had to surgically remove her hymen, as it was unusually thick. After that, we had to wait a couple of weeks for her to heal before we could try again. Those 2 weeks felt like an eternity, but they were also a time of deep bonding. We held each other, talked, and promised that nothing could ever come between us. When we finally had our real wedding night, it was everything we had hoped for and then some. Life moved quickly after that. About a year later, Amanda woke up one morning feeling nauseous, and soon after, we found out we were expecting our first child. Abigail was born 7.5 months later, followed by our son, Jacob, the next year. But somewhere along the way, things changed, and now I find myself wondering how everything went so wrong. Things went well for quite a while. A year or so after Abigail started school, we had a pretty bad scare. Amanda started throwing up again, and we thought, Great, another child. But it was not to be. Something happened, and we lost the fetus at 3 months, another girl we had named Sophia Marie. The doctor told us later that when he would do the D&C, it would be advisable for Amanda to have a hysterectomy to prevent further complications. It appeared that somehow her womb had moved and was twisted, causing the miscarriage. We both discussed it, and we agreed that it was the right thing to do. I did wonder how her womb could have become dislodged and twisted, and later asked the doctor what could cause that. He said it could be caused by a heavy blow to the abdomen or a large object being viciously rammed into her womb. I knew Amanda had a toy, but it was only about the usual size, so there was no way it could have caused that kind of damage. It left me questioning what had really happened. This occurred about 4 to 5 weeks after Amanda started coming home later on some Wednesday evenings, after having a couple of drinks with the girls. For the last 6 months, they met every other Friday night to wind down, especially after the audit season. They normally left work at 4, and then the drive home took another 20 minutes. But then it started being just a couple of hours, like 7 to 8, instead of the usual 5 to 6 before. Then, about 3 weeks after the D&C, she didn't come home until after midnight. She was pretty hammered, and I helped her upstairs, figuring I would talk to her in the morning. Saturday morning, Abigail woke me up asking where Mommy was. I looked to my right where Amanda should have been, and no one was there. After being as drunk as she was last night, I expected her to sleep it off this morning, but she wasn't in bed. I asked Abigail to get her brother up, and I would fix breakfast. I quickly did my bathroom chores and was downstairs to find Amanda's car was gone. But then I remembered that someone had driven her home, so maybe she went to pick up her car. As we ate breakfast, I tried to call Amanda's cell phone and got her voicemail. This was getting weird. I took the kids to the park and let them have some fun while I sat at a picnic bench, going through my phone list to see if anyone we knew had seen my wife. I was calling everyone I knew who could have remotely seen my wife last night or today. Finally, at 4 in the afternoon, I was able to get a hold of Laura Monroe, who worked on the same floor as Amanda. "Kelly, this is Daniel Lawson. Have you seen Amanda today?" "Oh, hi, Brian. No, I haven't seen her since last night when we were leaving the Crimson Sparrow bar. She was headed to her car, and I was going to mine." "When was that, Kelly?" "Oh, that had to be late, probably around 8 or 8:30 at the latest because I was home by 9. We got to talking about some new software we're getting and lost track of time, so we were a little late last night." "Is something wrong, Brian? You sure don't sound all right." No, I'm fine. I guess she had a hair appointment today she didn't tell me about. I haven't seen her since she came home last night is all, and she didn't leave a note. I'm sure it's nothing. Thanks, Kelly, I'll talk to you later." If Amanda had gone to her car at 8 last night and didn't get home until almost 12, then where the hell had she been for 4 hours? I gave up and put the kids in the car to go home. I then drove over to the Crimson Sparrow bar, and Amanda's car was not there. Okay, she should be home by now, I figured, so I drove straight home. Amanda's car was not at home, and she wasn't either. I called the local police, and they pretty much laughed at me. They told me someone had to be gone 24 to 36 hours before a complaint could be made. That pissed me off severely. So I got on the internet and looked it up. In Nevada, a report can be taken immediately, and once a local law enforcement agency receives a report, it must begin its investigation with due diligence. However, if the person is a child in danger or an adult suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, it must begin its investigation immediately. So I guess due diligence for a missing wife is 24 to 36 hours, or when they feel like it. So I called the CHP, Nevada Highway Patrol, and reported my wife missing. The clothes she had worn on Friday were still in the hamper where I put them last night, but I noticed her blue blouse and black knee-length skirt were missing. How I knew for sure was that they had been hanging on her closet door since I did the laundry on Thursday evening. I wasn't sure which shoes, because with like 25 pairs, who could tell? Yeah, I know another woman could tell, but not me. I gave the officer I talked to all the information about her car as well, and I even emailed a picture of her to him. Now, Mr. Caldwell, please be aware that a lot of wives like to get away by themselves once in a while, and she may just be at one of the malls shopping. I'm sure that she will be home soon, and this will all be a silly mistake. But we will keep you informed, and if she comes home, please call us, and we will close the investigation. That call was at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday evening. Sunday evening at 7:15 p.m., Amanda comes waltzing into the kitchen from the garage and says, "What's for supper, Brian?" Abigail and Jacob heard their mother's voice and ran to hug her and tell her all about their weekend and all the fun they had with Daddy. Then came the question I knew was coming but dreaded. Abigail said, "Mommy, where were you? We had lots of fun with Daddy, but we missed you. Brian, didn't you tell them I was going to see my parents this weekend? I left you a note. We'll talk later, Bree. You go play with your children, they missed you all weekend." I barely kept the anger in my voice in check. I think by the time I finished that last sentence, Amanda knew I was pissed. I never call her Bree unless I'm mad. She had to know I had found no note. However, as I was getting things ready for supper, I opened the fridge and closed it right back again. There, underneath one of the many magnets on the fridge door, was a hastily scribbled note that said, "Going to my parents, see you Sunday. Love, A." Now, I know damn well that note was not there before Amanda came in. I looked at the paper. It was a scrap from some receipt, and the lettering was pretty faded, but when I held it up to the light, it read Skyline Inn. The date that I could read was either from 5 weeks ago or a year ago, as the last 2 numbers of the date were not there. Now, there could be an argument that the receipt was from a year ago due to the deterioration of the lettering, but with the sunny days we've had here lately, it very well could have been 5 weeks ago if the receipt had been in her car. I immediately called the CHP and spoke to Officer Dawson. I let them know that my wife had indeed just come home and that she said she was at her parents' home in Riverdale. Her parents had moved there about a year ago for her father's job. He was close to retirement, and Ted wanted to stay until he could retire at 68. The company he worked for in Denver had expanded too much to stay in the area and had found a new location in Riverdale that allowed for their continued growth. Officer Dawson, who I had spoken to the day before, said they had patrols out looking for her car on the interstate but had not seen it. I thanked him and said that I really appreciated everything they had done and that I hoped I never had to call again. After I had tucked both children into bed and read a story to Jacob, I went back to the living room to talk to Amanda, and she wasn't there. I checked the kitchen and the garage, her car was still there, but where the hell was she? I went back to our bedroom, and she was sound asleep in our bed. I had half a mind to wake her and ask her what the hell was going on. Then I had an idea. I went back to the kitchen and called her father, David Blake, in Riverdale. "Hello, Ted, this is Brian. I wanted to call and let you know Amanda got home okay tonight. I hope you had a good visit. I wish I had known earlier that Amanda was going up there, we could have brought the kids to see you." "Brian, what are you talking about? Amanda hasn't been up to see us since about 2 months ago when you all came up after that issue Amanda had. Ted always did call her Amanda." "Oh, I'm so sorry, Ted. I thought she said that she had been up to see you guys this weekend. I was trying to make supper, and the children were yelling, so I must have misunderstood her. I'm so sorry to have bothered you. Give our love to Linda, and we'll try to make it up there in a few weeks. We'll try to be there for the 4th, okay? Brian, that would be great. You guys take care, and we love you all too. Bye-bye, Ted." Now I knew something was definitely off, but what could Amanda be up to? I knew one thing for sure, I was going to call Thomas Carter first thing tomorrow. I had heard that Ben had started working for some private investigation firm up in Springfield. Ben and I were school friends at CSU. He was going for a degree in criminal justice, and I for my architectural degree. He had always told me if I needed any help, to call him. I knew I would, first thing in the morning. I closed up the house and climbed into bed. I lay there for quite some time, wondering what was going on. The only thing I could think of was that Amanda was cheating on me with someone else. Then the conversation with Amanda's doctor came to my mind, and I thought, she must want something more than I can give, and mine isn't enough anymore. That thought put me in a real quandary, and I got back up and went into the living room to my recliner. I sat there and wept most of the night. Our marriage was dead. My life was dead. How could I live without my wife and kids? I knew the courts would side with Amanda, and I would lose my precious children. I would never see them again if this blew up and what I thought was happening turned out to be true. When I awoke the next morning, I was stiff, sore, and all cried out, or at least I thought so. I started the coffee and went into the bedroom to wake Amanda for work, and she was gone again. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I was going to get to the bottom of it today. I woke the kids and got them ready for school. I tried Amanda's cell phone, and it was off again, or my phone number was blocked, as I got the voicemail immediately. Once my precious angels were off to school, I stopped by the daycare and told them Amanda could no longer pick up the children. I said we were having some marital problems, and I did not want her grabbing them and disappearing. The manager said that my wife had never picked up the kids before, but she would make sure that she put up a notice that Amanda could not take the children. Since she had not picked them up before, she would have to show some ID and sign them out. She would make sure everyone knew about her not being able to pick up either child. Once at work, I called Flanders Investigations and asked for Thomas Carter. "I'm sorry, sir, but Ben has not reported in yet, but I expect him momentarily. Can someone else help you?" "Sure, this is Daniel Lawson, and my number here is 415-212-6789. I want to hire you to keep tabs on my wife. I think she is having an affair. Sir, if you go to our website, you can fill in all the information and even leave a credit card number for a retainer. We can get back to you later this morning or about an hour after you send us the information." "Yeah, that'll be fine, but have Ben call me when he comes in. I haven't talked to him in a while and thought I could touch base with him and get this started as well. Thank you." I hung up and called up their website. The site was very professional and even showed their vans with Flanders Security Services on the side of the van. Very nice. People would think that you were getting a security system installed if they had to bug your house. I had filled out the preliminary paperwork, added my credit card, and was just closing the site when I received an incoming call. "Pinnacle Architects, Daniel Lawson speaking. How may I help you?" "Brian, this is Ben. I heard that you were having some trouble at home. What can I do to help?" "Ben, I think Amanda is cheating on me. She said she went to her parents this weekend, but I called them, and they haven't seen her since we went up almost 2 months ago. She came home drunk Friday night about midnight. She was gone at 7 when Abigail woke me up the next morning. She came home about 7 Sunday evening, and when I tried to talk to her, she was asleep at 8. Then she was gone again this morning when I woke up to the alarm at 7. I have more, but I'd rather not say what on the phone. I think this has been going on for a while now, perhaps a couple of months or maybe more." "Brian, relax. Take it easy. We can handle it, and I see you just sent us the paperwork, so we are now on the case. Can you make a run home at lunchtime? I want to put a recorder on the phone and maybe a camera or two. It won't take but a few minutes. Also, do you have a set of keys to her car? If so, I can bug her car and put a GPS tracker in it. I'll even give you a transmitter for her purse that you can put in tonight. We will find out everything she does within a week. Now, does she go out every Friday?" "No, it's more like every other Friday, but she has never been gone all weekend before either. Ben, I just don't know how I can cope, but if she is screwing around on me, I want custody of the kids. I don't ever want them around what I think is going on." "Hey, no problem, Brian. I even know a dynamite lawyer that you need to talk to if we find anything. She will wipe the floor with her, and I can almost guarantee you could get custody if she is messing around like you think. Abandoning her kids for a weekend of hot sex would not look good for her. Just let me do the thinking for right now, Brian. You just take care of those children, and we will take care of you. Thanks, Ben. You're a real pal. I'll call your cell when I get close to home. See you soon, and hang in there, buddy." I hung up and cried for a little while longer, then went to the restroom to try to wash the red out of my eyes. When I came back, my assistant, Jenna, took one look at me, followed me into the office, and locked the door. I had just recently been promoted to senior architect, and Jenna was my assistant, an all-around girl Friday. "Daniel Lawson, what the hell is going on? You come in before time, close the door, and say nothing to me. You've been on the phone for almost the past hour, and now you look like someone ran over your puppy in front of you. So what's going on?" "I think my wife is cheating on me." That's all I got out before I broke down again. Jenna rushed to my side and held me as I cried into her blouse. Emily Sanders is 24 to my 32, and as cute as a button, as the old saying goes. She had only been with the company about 2 years, and when I was promoted, she begged Mr. Davidson to let her be my assistant and secretary. I had been a part of Pinnacle Architects since I graduated 10 years ago. Mr. Davidson is the CEO here. I couldn't believe how Jenna was able to let me cry and soothe my troubled soul. Dress. After about 5 minutes, I once again went to the restroom and washed my eyes. Jenna told me once I got back that she would handle the everyday stuff, and I needed to get busy working on the new Kessler project I was designing. Mr. Davidson expected to see preliminary floor plans by the end of the week. Thank you, Jenna. You have no idea how helpful you've been to me since you became my assistant. Today shows just how much you care about me and this company. I won't forget this. Now, let's get to work. That's the Brian I know and respect, she replied. I went to work on the computer for the floor plans for the Kessler project. I had the plans started, it was just a matter of adding some new walls and then adding furniture to get the plans into a preliminary stage. The clients had requested some changes last week, and most were done already. It was just cleanup and making sure I didn't have to change the lighting and HVAC too much. I had previously completed the electrical and half of the HVAC the week before my world fell apart. Jenna called me for lunch and told me I had to leave to meet Ben. I had immersed myself in my work and never even took a break until Jenna called me. I met Ben at my house, and he wired the place and gave me the transmitter for Amanda's purse, along with a tracker for her cell phone. He took my second set of keys to her car and said he would bug her car later that evening when she came home. We were all set to monitor her and see what she was really up to. I picked up Abigail and Jacob from daycare and arrived home a few minutes before Amanda. The children were watching TV in the living room when she came in the back door to the kitchen. I just looked at her and then went back to preparing our dinner. What? No hello, she asked. Oh, yes. Hello, Amanda. Did you have a good day? Oh, by the way, your mom and dad said to say hi. They expect us to come up in a couple of weeks for the 4th. I said we would try to make it. Brian, I know we need to talk, and I'm sorry about this weekend, but when did you talk to my folks? I called your dad last night, and we had a nice chat. Brian, I can explain about this weekend, but just not right now. Hey, no need to explain it to me. I'm nobody, only the chief cook and bottle washer around here. You don't have to explain anything. I'm just the hired help, right? Brian, please. There's no need to act like that. I can explain, but not right now, okay? Sure, no problem. Dinner will be ready in about 30 minutes. Go play with your children, they missed their mom this weekend. I turned around and ignored her. After a minute or so, she left the kitchen, and I tried my damnedest not to break down again. I couldn't even work up a good cry because I think I was all cried out. I knew my life with Amanda was over. I just wondered how I would be able to go on without the love of my life, with this huge hole in my heart and soul. Dinner was a quiet affair. The kids told us about their day, and I talked to them, but not much was said between Amanda and me. Once the meal was over, Abigail and Jacob went to the living room to play, and Amanda came into the kitchen to help clean up. Amanda, I just want to know why you lied to me about this past weekend. I know you didn't go to Riverdale, so please tell me where you really were. Brian, I know you're upset about this weekend, but please don't call me Amanda. I prefer Amy. You know that. But, if you must know, I went to see a friend. She received some very bad news. Sarah Fuller found out she has cancer, and I was with her all weekend. We found out Friday night, that's why we were so late and why I was drunk. I guess I can overlook this one-time occurrence, but from now on, please do me the courtesy of telling me the truth. I worry about you when you're not here with us, and would it kill you to give me a call when you're going to be late like that? I knew she was lying through her teeth, but I would find out more later. She was just overly trusting, thinking that I loved her too much to question anything she said. She had a big surprise in store for her if I found out differently. I let it go for now, but since Kelly said she left the lounge around 8, where did she really go and who with? It was still early, and Amanda had gone into the living room. I managed to install the cell phone bug and the transmitter for her purse. Then I went to the garage and unlatched the door so Ben could just open it and install the equipment in Amanda's car later that night. While there, I called Kelly again. Kelly, I know it's late, but this is Daniel Lawson again. I just heard about Sarah Fuller. Is there anything we can do to help her with this? I mean, we could keep her children or maybe just be with her when she's feeling down. What are you talking about, Brian? And who is Sarah Fuller? Are you sure you're all right? Kelly, Amanda told me that you all got the news that Sarah Fuller had cancer, and that's why you were all so late on Friday night. Brian, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh my God, Amanda is cheating on you, right? That's why you called Saturday and why you're calling me now, you're checking up on her. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Brian. I didn't know. Kelly, please don't say a word to Amanda. I'm trying to gather some evidence so I can divorce her if she's cheating, and right now, I'm pretty sure she is. Brian, I guarantee you she won't get a hint from me. I never figured her to be like that. The way she talks about you and her kids. I don't see her every day, but do you want me to see what I can find out at work? Kelly, please don't do anything yet. I have a friend who is a professional and is on top of this right now. I don't want any leaks getting out. I hope you understand. I know that you and Dave have not been our closest friends, but I consider you good friends, though I'm almost afraid that what Amanda has gotten into is just too much for me. I really don't know what to do or how to feel anything but hurt. She has outright lied to me, and I think this has been going on for a while now, and I can't take this much longer without exploding. I'm so sorry for unloading like this on you, but I had to talk to someone about this, or I'll go nuts. Brian, never feel that you can't talk to me or Dave. I know that we're not close, but then I'm not that close with Amanda either. Like I said, we work at the same place but not in the same department, so I only see her maybe 2 or 3 times a week at work, and then every other Friday at the gatherings. But she mostly hangs around with Alex Bennett, Rachel Cooper, and Natalie Gray. They're all in her section and always have a table with Derek Hayes and their boss. I don't think I know any of them. They've never been to any of our barbecues or holiday parties. Are they all new people? Chris started about a year ago, and John came from the Seattle office at the start of the new year. But Sherry and Holly have been there for a few years. They were married before but got divorced sometime last year. They were always close with Amanda and Megan Ross. However, Jane left suddenly just before Halloween last year. I heard that her husband found out she was cheating on him and put her boyfriend in the hospital. He went to jail, and she moved away. Wow, that is some serious drama. Did they bring in John to straighten things out? Rumor had it that he was here to clean house. I have no idea if he did because not that many others have left from that department. Kelly, I want to thank you for all this information. Please keep it a secret about what I suspect. I don't want to tip anyone off as to my plans. I'll call you later. Brian, you are one of the good guys. I know you love your wife and children a lot. I truly hope that this is all just a misunderstanding. If half of what Amanda has told us in the past is true, you are one of the saintly few good men left in this world. My Dave is one too. Good night, Brian, and call us anytime. Thanks, Kelly. Good night, and say hi to Dave for me. I hung up with a much better understanding of the office politics and environment that Amanda was in. I only hope that she wasn't in as deep as poor Jane was last year. All I could do now was hope and pray that this was all just a misunderstanding. I tried to initiate some intimacy that evening, but Amanda shot me down, complaining that she was not feeling well. I no longer suspected that she was cheating, I knew she was. The signs were all too obvious, and it left me in a deep pit of despair. I lay in our bed, trying to figure out what I had done to deserve this betrayal. After hours of thinking, I realized I couldn't find a single answer that made sense. Exhausted, I eventually drifted off to sleep. The alarm jolted me awake the next morning. I looked over, and Amanda was beside me, curled into a ball on her side of the bed, something I hadn't seen since she was recovering from childbirth or her hysterectomy. She only slept like that when she was in pain, which made me wonder if she was dealing with some sort of mental anguish. Was there a chance she was remorseful about whatever she was doing? I wasn't sure, but I knew I couldn't hold on to false hope. I rolled out of bed and went to the kitchen to put on some coffee. When I went back to the bedroom, Amanda was already in the shower. I gathered my clothes and took a shower in the children's bathroom, just to avoid any further tension. Afterward, I made breakfast for the kids, who were still too young to understand why their parents were acting differently. Once at work, I buried myself in my tasks, but my mind was elsewhere. It felt like I was on autopilot, just trying to get through the day. Jenna must have noticed something was off because she quietly left me a sandwich and drink on my desk without saying a word. I appreciated her kindness, though I was too wrapped up in my thoughts to express it. Later that afternoon, I received a call from Ben, asking me to come to Michael Foster's office at 10 a.m. the next day. "Sure," I said. "I'll be there." At Dennis's office the next day, I was introduced to some troubling information. Dennis started, "Brian, we have everything we need to proceed with a divorce on the grounds of adultery. If you'd prefer, we can also file under irreconcilable differences. However, to pursue full custody of your children, we needed damning evidence, and unfortunately, we've obtained some of the worst I've seen in my 12 years of family law practice." My heart sank. "How bad is it?" I asked. Ben chimed in, "Brian, it's worse than we initially thought. We have footage from the past week that shows Amanda engaging in behavior that would destroy you to watch. For your own well-being, Dennis and I strongly recommend that you do not review the evidence. Trust us when we say it's far better if you never see or hear what we've gathered." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. "You're telling me it's that bad?" I asked, feeling the weight of their words. Dennis continued, "Yes, Brian, it is. The evidence will be presented in a closed session with the judge. The only people who will see it will be her attorney, Ben, and myself. We will make sure the judge understands the severity of the situation and why you should get full custody of the kids." "Okay," I said, my voice breaking. "If you both think it's better that I don't see it, then I'll trust your judgment. Just get the restraining order in place. I don't want her near me or the kids." Dennis nodded, "We'll serve her with the divorce papers and the restraining order this afternoon. We're aiming for a minimum distance of 500 feet between her and you, but we'll try for more. I'm sorry it had to come to this, Brian." I stood up and shook both their hands. "Thank you for your help," I said. "I'll sign whatever I need to." I left the office feeling drained and numb. The woman I loved had become a stranger, and it was as if a dark cloud loomed over me that I couldn't shake. At work, I threw myself into the Kessler project, trying to distract myself from my crumbling marriage. Jenna, once again, left lunch on my desk without saying anything, understanding that I needed space. Later that evening, I picked up Abigail and Jacob from daycare. When we arrived home, there was still no sign of Amanda. I made dinner for the kids, and we watched a movie together. When bedtime came, I tucked them in, feeling both relieved and despondent. Amanda never showed up that night, and I realized that I needed to start accepting that this was going to be my new reality. The next morning, I found Amanda asleep in the bed. She reeked of alcohol, and it took everything in me not to let my disgust show. The next day was much the same. Amanda was distant, and I felt like I was merely going through the motions of life. Then, it happened. Amanda was served with the divorce papers, and the reality of our broken marriage hit her hard. She left the house without a word, but later that evening, Ben called to let me know that Amanda had been served and was also informed of the restraining order. He assured me that she had taken it relatively calmly and that they would keep a close eye on her. 2 days later, Dennis and Ben appeared at my office to discuss the judge's ruling. "Brian, I have some good news," Dennis said, smiling. "The judge granted you full custody of Abigail and Jacob." Given the evidence presented, he had no doubts about the decision. Amanda is allowed supervised visitation, but only under strict conditions. I breathed a sigh of relief, though the victory felt bittersweet. While I had gained custody of my children, I had lost the woman I once loved, or at least, who I thought she was. The news of our divorce spread quickly, and it didn't take long for rumors to surface about why Amanda had been let go from her job. As it turned out, there had been a lawsuit involving several employees, and she was one of those implicated. I heard that others in her department had filed for divorce around the same time, suggesting that her behavior had not gone unnoticed at work either. Months passed, and I slowly adjusted to life as a single parent. The children missed Amanda initially, but they adapted well, thanks to the support of friends and family. I sold our old house and bought a new one closer to work. The fresh start felt like a necessary step in moving on. Meanwhile, Amanda seemed to have vanished. Even her parents hadn't heard from her since the divorce was finalized. There were rumors that she was living in Las Vegas, working as a bartender, but I didn't care to confirm them. I had my own life to rebuild. As time went by, my heart began to heal, and I found myself growing closer to Jenna. She had been there for me during the toughest days of my life, and her kindness had left an indelible mark on me. 2 years after my divorce from Amanda, Jenna and I were married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. She became a loving stepmother to Abigail and Jacob, and a year later, we welcomed our son, Benjamin, into the world. A year after that, our daughter, Grace, was born. Life, once shattered, had found a way to piece itself back together. The kids thrived in the loving environment Jenna and I created, and we made sure they would never feel the absence of their biological mother. Each of our 4 children had college funds set up and a bright future ahead of them. As for Amanda, she never resurfaced. It was as though she had faded into obscurity, and no one heard from her again. There were whispers that she had ended up in a rundown part of town, leading a life far removed from the one she had once known. But those were just rumors. For all intents and purposes, Sophia Lawson had disappeared from our lives, leaving us to create a new story for ourselves. Years went by, and our lives took on a new rhythm. The past remained a distant memory, and the wounds from Amanda's betrayal had gradually healed, although some scars lingered. Abigail and Jacob adjusted well, and Jenna had fully embraced her role as their stepmother, treating them as if they were her own. We made a point to create a warm, stable home where they could feel loved and secure. Jenna and I focused on building a life that was anchored in trust and openness. We talked through everything, something I hadn't been able to do with Amanda. It was a different kind of marriage, one built with all the lessons I had learned from the past. I made sure to be present and emotionally available, to listen and support Jenna in every way I could. In turn, she did the same for me. We weren't just partners, we were a team. Together, we forged a new path forward. As the kids grew older, they had questions about Amanda. They remembered her vaguely, and I never hid the truth from them. I explained that their biological mother had made some choices that took her away from our family and that sometimes, people lose their way. I reassured them that her absence was not their fault and that they were loved by the family they had now. As difficult as those conversations were, they ultimately brought us closer. Eventually, Abigail and Jacob seemed to accept the reality that their mother wasn't coming back. The questions grew fewer, and they started referring to Jenna as Mom. It was Jenna who was there for every scraped knee, every school play, and every heartbreak. It was her love and commitment that filled the space Amanda had left empty. Professionally, things continued to progress. I was promoted to lead architect at Pinnacle Architects, and Jenna decided to go back to school to pursue a degree in interior design. Our projects started to overlap, and we found ourselves working together on high-profile residential designs. We were a perfect match in both life and work. Our dynamic brought out the best in each other, and it felt as though we were living out a dream neither of us had dared to imagine when we first met. By the time our youngest, Grace, turned 5, it was hard to believe how far we had come. Life was busy with 4 children, but it was also filled with laughter and love. Our family was a blended one, but to us, it was seamless and whole. One summer evening, nearly 8 years after Amanda had left our lives, I received an unexpected call from a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated before answering, but a nagging curiosity pushed me to pick up. "Hello," I said, unsure of what to expect. "Brian." "It's Amanda," came a voice that was faintly familiar yet aged and strained. My breath caught in my throat. It had been so long since I had heard her voice that for a moment, it felt like hearing from a ghost. "Amanda," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "What do you want?" "I'm in town," she said slowly. I've been thinking about the kids, about everything. I was wondering if I could see them, just to talk." The pause that followed felt like an eternity. Memories of the pain, the betrayal, and the years of absence came flooding back. It took me a moment to compose myself before responding. "Amanda, you walked out of their lives a long time ago," I said, my voice steady but firm. "You didn't reach out once. They've moved on, and so have I. Jenna is their mother now, in every way that matters. What exactly do you think would be accomplished by seeing them now?" I just need to explain," she stammered. "To say I'm sorry. I wasn't myself back then. I've changed." I don't know if that matters anymore, I replied. The kids are happy, and they have a stable life. I don't want to disrupt that for your sake. If you really want to be a part of their lives, you'll need to prove that you're doing it for them, not for yourself. But I'm warning you, it won't be easy, and they might not even be open to it. Amanda's voice cracked. I understand. I need to try. Send me your contact information, I said finally. I'll think about whether it's worth even telling them. But Amanda, don't get your hopes up. You left, and they've healed without you. After hanging up, I felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, pity, and a hint of sorrow. I told Jenna about the call, and we discussed it at length. In the end, we decided it was best to let the kids decide for themselves. They were old enough to understand and choose whether they wanted to see Amanda. When we told Abigail and Jacob about the call, they both reacted with a mix of curiosity and caution. Abigail, now a teenager, expressed a guarded interest. I don't know if I want to see her, she said quietly. But maybe I need to at least hear what she has to say. Jacob, on the other hand, was more hesitant. She's never been there for us, he said bitterly. Why should we be there for her now? In the end, they both agreed to meet with Amanda, with Jenna and me there to support them. The reunion was tense and awkward, filled with half-hearted apologies from Amanda and carefully measured responses from the kids. It was clear that too much time had passed for any real bond to be rekindled. The meeting ended with Abigail and Jacob being polite but distant, and Amanda left with a tear-streaked face and an air of resignation. Afterward, Abigail and Jacob both seemed relieved. I'm glad I met her, Abigail said. But Jenna is my mom. She's the one who's been there. That's all that really matters. Life returned to normal soon after. Amanda faded from our lives once again, this time for good. It was a closure of sorts, not the kind that heals everything but the kind that lets you finally close a chapter and move on. Over the years, the family continued to grow and evolve. Jenna and I watched our children mature, cheering them on through their accomplishments and comforting them through their struggles. We built the kind of life I had once thought was impossible after my marriage to Amanda ended. Together, we proved that sometimes, the most beautiful things can come from the most painful places. As for Amanda, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she continued to struggle. She never found the stability she had once craved, and her life was marked by a series of ups and downs. Occasionally, I'd wonder if things could have turned out differently for her, but then I'd look at Jenna and our children and remember that I was exactly where I needed to be. Our story, marked by betrayal and heartbreak, ultimately became one of resilience, forgiveness, and new beginnings. The past could not be undone, but it had shaped us into who we were, stronger, wiser, and filled with gratitude for the life we had now. And so, we continued forward, with a love that had been tested and found true, a family built not just by blood, but by choice in the bonds we had formed. It wasn't the story I had expected, but it was the one we had created, and that made it more than enough. Thanks for watching. What would you have done in Brian's shoes? Give Amanda a second chance, or was it too late? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories. See you next time.